Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
A massive warm welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as many of you know, I'm helping a class of virtual students start 2019 with their own podcasts. And you might remember that I was telling you that I was also trying to get a code for wannabe podcasters for Libsyn, the podcast host. And for those of you who don't know, creating a podcast really involves recording a conversation, editing it together, and then uploading it to a podcast host. And one of the reasons I've always used Libsyn is because I can upload my episode and push one button that will upload it to Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and all those other places out there with minimal effort. So if anyone is thinking of signing up and doing a podcast on their own, I've secured a code that will give anyone free access for the entire month and also the following month too. But just like the Gremlins movie, it does come with a few rules. So my top tip, or my secret tip to you all, would be to sign up on the 2nd of any month, because that will give you maximum benefit. The 1st of the month is a little bit too risky because of the multiple time zones involved. You could end up missing out. So I always say go with the 2nd of the month, and that way you'll get the whole of that month and the following month free. And the other rule, of course, is to choose a package that's right for you, because there is several data packages. By all means, email me techblogwriter@outlook.com if you need a bit of help choosing a data package, because if you alter that price plan midway through the month, the payment plan kicks straight in. So like I say, I'm here if you need my help with any of that. But if you're comfortable just going it alone, the code to use is TBW, which stands for Tech Blog Writer, of course. You can't forget that. But if you do want to chat about it, email me techblogwriter@outlook.com. And if you need my help to get you up and running, or you want to join my course, just let me know. But on with today's show. Now, one of the things I'm passionate about when recording this podcast is how technology is transforming the entire world. And I've been fortunate enough to speak with tech leaders in Europe, India, Canada, US, South America, and Australia. But today, I wanted to explore how South Korea are leading the way with blockchain technology. And while the value of blockchain often lies in its potential rather than its real-time use, in South Korea they are gradually emerging as the global leader in real-world blockchain applications. For example, in August, the government announced its plans to invest nearly $4.5 billion towards the development of blockchain, AI, and other emerging technologies. So it certainly seems they're ready for Web 3.0. And also, the Ministry of Science and ICT additionally announced plans to invest $9 million to kickstart pilot blockchain projects in the public sector. It's absolutely fascinating. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Seoul in South Korea so we can speak with Jake Choi from Fantom. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Jake. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Jake, and I'm currently a Chief Marketing Officer here at Fantom. What I do generally is, is just to get our focus is on a lot on community, building the community, expanding out across the globe, not only in Korea, but also in Asia Pacific regions, the US, and hopefully towards the UK as well. My prime focus is on the idea of delivering messages about Fantom to the public, not only to grow the community from an investors and also trading perspective, but most importantly for developers to come and join our network as well.
Well, one of the reasons I record this daily tech podcast is because I'm fascinated by how tech is transforming every corner of the globe. So just to set the scene, I wanted to tap into your expertise on the subject of blockchain, but from the perspective in South Korea, because while the value of blockchain often lies in its potential rather than its real-time use, from what I've seen, South Korea has gradually emerged as a global leader in real-world blockchain applications. For example, in August, the government announced its plans to invest nearly $4.5 billion towards a development of blockchain, AI, and other emerging technologies. Is this something you can expand on and help educate people listening to us today in over 165 countries?
Sure, my pleasure. South Korea, I must say, is by far the most exciting place to be when you are in the blockchain space. I myself travel often. I travel in Singapore, Taipei. I lived in Australia. I lived in New Zealand, and I traveled around the UK and to Europe as well. And it's fascinating, not to, I guess, to put any other country off, but it's fascinating to see anything that is related to crypto and blockchain, shops and stores, being around every block that you see in Korea. It's fascinating. You see in buses people talking about crypto. You see in just local shops posting out that they're saying, blockchain and the ICO promotion is all there. So during the hype phase, South Korea happens to pick up these things real fast. And hence the government obviously trying their best to make sure that they adopt with technology, they learn about the technology, and hence what you mentioned. During August, it was quite famous that the government did invest 4.5 billion into the development of the blockchain, AI, and etc. What's also exciting is that you see a lot of funds and money moving around this place. Not only there's a right balance of retail and also funds and also institutional partners that are currently interested in blockchain space. It is certainly an exciting place to be. And I strongly believe that it is because of South Korea's ability to adapt and also to quickly learn about new technologies, and most importantly, the interest towards cryptocurrency is by far one of the greatest things to have in this country.
And I also recently read, I think it was the Ministry of Science and ICT announced plans to invest an additional 9 million to kickstart pilot blockchain projects in the public sector too. So, I mean, it really does feel like an incredibly exciting time right now, both for South Korea and the blockchain space. Is that something that you're feeling too?
Of course. I mean, you can always see the public and the private sort of side. I'm not sure also if everyone's aware, is one of the biggest crypto exchanges in Korea, called Bithon, has been acquired, and a proportion of it by a private company. We see that crypto is becoming more and more regulated as around the globe, and hence why everyone's quite fascinated about how the public sector is doing at the moment. But everyone's, I guess, intrigued about what the next regulation move will be. Will it help the crypto space, or will it promote the crypto space? No one really knows. But what's interesting is that the government is actually still talking about it, and they're in fact quite positive about the acts to do so. So there's a lot of investments going on, and I do strongly feel that there's a lot of big supports going on.
And this brings us nicely, of course, to Fantom Foundation, which is the world's first DAG-based smart contract platform. So can you tell me a little bit more about the story behind it and what you set out to achieve?
Sure. So Fantom actually really kicked off when we were only looking to solve one problem, and that is really how food gets stored and delivered from the farmers all the way to a dinner table, how we can track food and how we can actually understand what we can do by using blockchain and how we can make it much more efficient. Well, what we realized was that there was a bigger problem with that. The biggest problem that we had using to solve those problems by using public blockchain is that it's very slow. It's cumbersome, it's hard to understand, it's slow, it's not scalable, most importantly as well. So if we have, for example, 1,000 people all using this blockchain at once, then it's going to be so slow that you won't be able to understand or process this. And what's the point in this technology space where everything's really about speed and how we can load up an internet, a screen of an internet much faster, when payments and etc. is not getting processed fast enough. So we realized that no matter how much we develop and how much we want to solve the problem of food and supply chain efficiency, and those factors, there's no point because it cannot apply to real life application. So Fantom took a different step. Obviously, Fantom partnered up with an institution called Oracle, a technology company, and also with University of Yonsei, which is basically one of the top tier computer science companies. And our CEO and our researchers are all from Yonsei universities to leverage on those contexts and those details as well. Now, using those guys, well, we realized that there was a method for us to solve that problem, and that is a bigger problem, which is the whole entire blockchain space is having trouble. So scalability and speed of transaction is what we were focusing on. So we knew that blockchain itself at this current technology isn't something which we can solve right away. So we used a different method called a DAG, Directed Acyclical Graph, and along with it, we found a method to actually create a smart contract platform out of it. Now, DAG happens to be, still new. Not that many people know about it, but I'm not sure if you remember. But there are places like projects like Kotti or Hashgraph or other projects that really solves the same problem of DAG. We don't see them as a competitor, but we see them as allies to actually understand how we can explore the space together. So DAG, in other words, is very simple. It's breaking down all the blocks into small little pieces so that it can roll freely and for it to be much faster than average block size of making that block into one single large. So that's really what Fantom, technology is really about. And what we did is that we tailored that across, and we realized that this technology can be applied to many other applications. So not only from food, but also from places like energy, payment industry, retail. Looking into, how shops can deliver and record all their logistics, banking, and insurance. So right now we're obviously getting a lot of interest from all the sorts of different companies, and reputable ones, obviously, are the ones that are currently asking and seeking a solution based on DAG. They happen to have, we run our, businesses and also a network around the people that are basically understand blockchain, but have realized and understand that the bigger problem was that of scalability and the speed of transaction. So they're now coming to, obviously, Fantom to actually understand how we can solve them and how we can help them solve their problems as well.
And it really does feel like that there's this increased awareness at the moment that success in blockchain and the world of cryptocurrencies is all going to be achieved by mainstream adoption, real-world use cases, not just future promises. And in many ways, it feels like South Korea is helping bringing blockchain closer to the mainstream. So can you tell me what systematic problems have contributed to the rise of blockchain technology, and also how it both mirrors and differs from that of the internet and mobile technology?
Sure. So blockchain is, I still believe that blockchain is currently very early in this market, meaning that we strongly believe, as you mentioned, that real-life application is the key for everything. We saw that internet, obviously, trying it out. We started off, if everyone really remembers, we started with a blank piece of black little board, and we started typing every single thing on it. And we realized that we can actually create that into something like, a platform which is visibly anyone can really see at a very user-friendliness. So the benefits, as you mentioned, right, is that we can make the cost reduction is massive. So the ways that we can use the technology and to reduce costs where it's unnecessary because of intermediaries taking such profit, or decentralizing sources so that the profits can be shared evenly throughout an ecosystem is something that's actually been created. What's particularly interesting is that once the regulators help us, and what I mean by that is that once the regulators actually really help us solidify us into a nice little systematic lawful manner, perhaps through KYC, or perhaps through means of helping us to adapt cryptocurrency ecosystem into real life, is that we'll explore into space which we will never have thought before. And this is really interesting, where we won't be needing intermediary settlement agencies because smart contract can do the trick. We will be able to send international payments all across the globe because the easiness and the fast transaction, where we don't need a settlement agency, for example, for me to send money from here to Australia, it takes about 7 days. So all those things can be reduced. The cons, as you said, of such technology, once again, for us to take the time and efforts and use the resources to understand how we can adapt this technology into real life. But once again, right, every single step is to explore what's something bigger and how it can be used. We do need to risk and invest into those to make sure that we get a brighter future.
So what do you think are the strongest use cases for blockchain in today's market? And also, how can we address hot topics such as scalability, interoperability, and all those complexity concerns out there?
The way that I see it is that it's sort of like this. So the real life use case really can come from starting from payments. And Fantom is really doing that too, as we strongly believe that. Now, being able to transact and have some sort of a currency that is widely accepted across the globe, where you do not require to go through foreign exchange. You do not need to open up a bank account or rely on a bank account across the world, is something which is unique to blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I say this because cryptocurrency and blockchain must go hand in hand. I simply say this because I do have the background, I guess, in terms of the private blockchain and other digital currencies, how they have a competing interest from one and the other. But so far, public blockchain is something which we all, I believe, need to explore. It's like having an intranet or the internet. It's we all want to explore the internet first, the public space, and to understand how we can actually explore that before, I guess, we tap into the interest space. So with cryptocurrencies, payment seems to be the most suitable fit. It's about user adoption and exploring how we can get more users to come and support us, come and join the ecosystem. We obviously need to make sure that the merchants are satisfied with it and benefit from accepting these things, such as reducing their merchant fees when they can be using something, like credit cards. The next best, I think, will really come by is, in fact, smart contracts. And smart contracts are quite unique because I personally myself wasn't a full believer in Bitcoin until I actually saw Ethereum coming in past. Now, Ethereum actually let us really understand how cryptocurrency, it can be a platform, not just payment, but actually something which is required for us to gain trust in a very trustless environment. So such as, you requiring a token to execute a smart contract has shined so much light upon us, is that someone who's from South Korea, like myself, around the world can simply chat on our internet and just execute and build trust through a smart contract and not using any other intermediary like banks or anything like that. So that is the ultimate idea, I guess, and the real life use cases. Other than two, I do believe that it is still work in progress, and understanding and finding that part of the killer app is what's crucial. But as far as Fantom goes, Fantom is really all about making sure for those killer apps, the right infrastructure and the environment is there, and we're here to support it.
So, in your opinion, what are the advantages and disadvantages behind companies starting out with localized adoptions of blockchains and researching projects before actually going global?
Research-wise, I believe is quite crucial. Maybe perhaps not the right person to really comment about this, but research on these applications is obviously necessary, as blockchain itself is something which not that many people are still familiar about. There isn't a right or wrong solutions to cryptography or blockchain in general, because it is still under progress, and we're exploring which one is actually the best. There's a lot of different projects that are out there that have researched and came out with a new chain other than a slight variation of blockchain, or within blockchain a slight variation rather than other chains itself. So a lot of research has been there, and then it's new ways and new forms being formed. What is the cons about having a lot of research into this thing is because we can't live our lives with 12 different internets. And that is very simple put. We've got so many infrastructures that are out there that have different types of speed or different types of methods to solve the same sort of problem. But if it's too much, then we are inevitably in a situation where we have 12 different internets, and we don't know which one to actually use. And it's something which I think is a major problem currently in this place. And Fantom is also looking to solve that by was creating somewhat called interoperability between all sorts of different infrastructure projects that are out there. And I think it's quite crucial, in fact. Thanks for asking.
Fantom have also been noticed by NASDAQ, who published your article regarding DAGs and mainstream adoption. I mean, that's got to make you incredibly proud, and an indication that you're on the right path and even leading the way, doesn't it?
That's right. So we were very proud, and we were very fortunate to have NASDAQ pick up our article on that one. So, as far as Fantom goes, we are here to go global. We are a project, an infrastructure that the technology was started off within Korea, but in fact we got our developers all around the globe. We have our business development managers around one in the US, one in Australia, and in fact one in Switzerland as well. So we're growing our user base around the globe to make sure that Fantom can reach out outside of the Asia-Pac countries, and we're working very hard. So NASDAQ, an article like that is something which we're very proud to be, and we're working hard to for NASDAQ to pick up more articles for us, and it's great, and it's exciting to have Fantom being voiced out towards the world.
So with 2018, the end is in sight. So what can people expect from Fantom in 2019 and beyond?
Well, in 2019, we will be expecting a mainnet being going live. Fantom will be able to deploy all our current decentralized application builders to utilize the main chain to fulfill or to create the killer apps. You will also be able to see Fantom being partnered up with institutions and building our Fantom Enterprise Alliance. So our Fantom Enterprise Alliance just quickly comprises of many other institutions around the globe, not only in Korea, but also in Japan, in Dubai, and in Singapore, and China, and now reaching out to Australia and the US as well. So building that part of the strategic alliance is something that we're also focusing on. So you'll see a lot of new companies that are coming on board to solve their current problems using the Fantom way, I guess. So there's a huge support that we need from that. We're expecting a big developer community being formed around the world. We've actually launched Fantom Australia just today, in fact. And in Australia, we're having a lot of, celebration through hackathon, and also, in fact, also in Russia as well. We're currently having a 6-month hackathon with another company called Crypto Bazaar to explore how we can grow our developer community. And so with the mainnet going about, which is the biggest highlight for us in 2019, we're making sure that there's a lot of business activities and there's a lot of community engaging activities for Fantom to be present around the world.
Well, a huge thank you for coming on the show today. But before I do let you go, can you just remind the listeners of where they can find you guys online, read your white paper, look at your roadmaps, and also just maybe contact a member of your team if they've got any questions after listening to our conversation today?
Sure, of course. So definitely, Fantom. Everyone can really find us from Fantom Foundation. It's a dot and then foundation. You can type that in. We're obviously promoting our technical paper release for our developers community to grow. We'll have our Fantom Australia launch page as well with our hackathon and our Fantom Journal as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'll put all those links in the show notes just so listeners can find you guys and find out more information. But I've really enjoyed talking with you today. I think all too often we focus on just what's happening in Silicon Valley, but I think the focus on South Korea at the moment and how you're leading the way is a fantastic thing and such a real eye-opener, especially around mainstream adoption and how it's being embraced. So a big thank you for coming on today, and hopefully get you back on next year and find out how things are going with Fantom too. But more than anything, just thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it.
Wow, what an invaluable conversation. And I really am thrilled that I get to speak with people from all over the world. And one of the things that I love about recording these shows is it's not about buzzwords, Reddit conversations or forum chats. It's real stories directly from someone on the ground in that country telling us exactly how it is. So there's no room for spin or misquoting. We get to hear it firsthand. And the fact that we can share these stories in an instant still excites me because it just cuts through all the BS and fake news out there. And South Korea, like I said at the beginning of the show, South Korea has emerged as a global leader in real-world blockchain applications. And that government investment of nearly $4.5 billion, along with the $9 million to kickstart pilot blockchain projects in the public sector, is incredibly exciting. And today's conversation left me thinking, when is the rest of the world going to wake up and catch up? And why are so many people and so many businesses and so many governments all around the world spending far too many times in meetings discussing meetings and talking about what to do next, or spending too much time on the future of change and fearing it? They could ultimately get left behind. But hey, that was just me thinking out loud. I want to hear what you think. And you can email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk/podcast if you want to read more about any of the guests on this podcast, or leave me a virtual voicemail. But I'm afraid we're out of time once again. But I'm going to carry on my quest for another great guest to appear on this show, a little bit like Kane in the TV series Kung Fu. A pop culture reference for the older listeners there. But for everyone else, just a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.